This is interesting for me. Now, Mark, you've spoken about Kepa a few times tonight concerning the goals. I want to know, for Lucho, because obviously you have a Spanish perspective, you're living in Spain, and how the keepers in Spain are viewed. Because it feels for me that no one is able to cement that #1 spot for the country ever since Iker Casillas obviously stepped away from the national scene. So, right now, who's the favourite? Who does Spain like, Lucho?
No, it's difficult. It's difficult, to be honest, because it was a big fight between De Gea and Kepa. Everybody, well, you have those two groups from two amazing players. I think Spain has been very lucky to have Iker Casillas for many years, with the backup of Victor Valdés, with Pepe Reina, amazing keepers. And then from nowhere, De Gea arrived and became a very unique, very young and talented keeper. Kepa came right after, and then Kepa kind of go over him, and then committed a mistake, and then De Gea committed a mistake. So it's been kind of ups and downs of both keepers. Honestly, at the moment, the situation is like that one, that the people is kind of fingers crossed that this year there is no national team competitions. Because it's weird. You see the Gea performance lately, and he had kind of a few mistakes, with Kepa kind of the same. So, people is always worried about if they are going to perform well with the national teams. We have to remember that those keepers are fantastic. Yes, very good. We've seen them make amazing saves, being key players for their teams. And of course, as a keeper, and Mark will tell us even more than me, when you are at the back there, and you know that one of your mistakes is going to cost maybe 3 points, of course you are on the spot all the time. But they know this. They know when you are a keeper, you know that you're going to have this responsibility. So we have to understand it. But I think they are fantastic keepers on a very difficult moment, ending this season with mistakes, and well, we'll see what happens next year, because both of them are in talks, or we can hear that maybe they will leave Premier League to go somewhere else. Spanish teams, even Italian teams, I heard. So we'll see what happens, because even Chelsea manager was talking the other day about Kepa, and United we're talking about De Gea as well. So we'll see what happens. Quite interesting.
Your take, Mark, the two Spanish keepers, because we're coming out of a period where it just seemed to be Spanish keepers were pure class. You're looking at Casillas, won the World Cup, won back-to-back Euros. Pepe Reina, successful at Liverpool. That was really when he was at his peak as well. Victor Valdés, I mean, obviously, the Barcelona team that he played in, phenomenal as well. But we're now at a stage with the Spanish keepers whereby we're questioning them. We're questioning their performances week in, week out. You were questioning Kepa tonight as well.
Yeah, funny enough, I mean, yeah, that's right. I mean, particularly the keepers, the Spanish keepers are playing abroad. You know, De Gea has been at United now for a long time, 8 years, I think it is. And he's regarded as being one of the best goalkeepers in the world for a number of years. The issue, I suppose, is it's like anything. And like Luis there sort of touched on, is that, you know, as a goalkeeper, you make a mistake, it leads to a goal generally, 9 times out of 10. And it's very costly. And that's the nature of the position. When you're talking about truly top class goalkeepers, someone like De Gea has been regarded over the last couple of years, you can't afford to make too many big errors that lead directly to goals. And I think, you know, when you look at De Gea every year now for the last 2 seasons, he's probably, you know, internationally included, probably made about 6 to 7 big high-profile mistakes that you would say definitely he's made a mistake that he should have saved it, and it's ended up in the back of the net, and you can't afford that. And it's only right that you're going to start to be questioned about your position. I think in De Gea's case, it's been too often this season, and you look on the weekend, it's ultimately cost United an opportunity to go and play in an FA Cup final. You know, with Kepa, I think even from day one, I wasn't entirely convinced. I mean, they paid an absolute fortune for him, and I think it was a little bit a rash decision. And this is not Kepa's fault. You know, it's just a case that I think he struggled to adapt to the Premier League. I think he struggled to adapt possibly with a price tag. And I think there's going to be changes. I think there's going to be changes at both clubs. The one goalkeeper that I'll be interested to hear what Luis thinks of is Unai Simon from Athletic Bilbao. He's been highly regarded. I think he's number 3 for Spain, if it's correct in saying so.
Yeah, exactly. At the moment, he's number 3, and well, it was going to be called and maybe start one of the games, but at the moment we don't know what's going to happen, of course. But he's one of the best keepers at the moment in Spain. He's done an amazing job for Athletic Bilbao, and they will play next year a European competition, so it will put him even more under pressure to show if he's capable of dealing with a different kind of pressure.
I mean, what's the legacy of De Gea right now in Spain? Because he really made his name, obviously, at Atletico Madrid. But since he left, Courtois went in. Courtois got to the Champions League final with Atletico. It was in Lisbon. He won La Liga with Atletico Madrid. Now, obviously, his allegiance has now switched. He's at Real Madrid, so the fans are not happy with him. But if we're looking just purely on performances, he's kept the most clean sheets for a Real Madrid keeper in a single season, dating back since the 1970s. He just equaled or bettered the record recently. So he's done phenomenally well there. And now Jan Oblak is considered possibly the world's best goalkeeper. So what is De Gea's legacy now?
Legacy, we won't call it legacy. We call it as it was a young keeper that he was going to develop or become an amazing player in Atletico Madrid and suddenly moved to Manchester United. But at the end, he was a young player back then. Like you were saying, Courtois arrived and showed that he was probably one of the best keepers at that time. And Black probably is, if not the best one of the best ones again. Ter Stegen will fight for it, or Alisson. But it's true that it's a big competition. People even doesn't talk again about De Gea, because what Mark was saying is totally right. When you commit so many big, massive mistakes, because you can, Kepa today, the first goal goes there, doesn't arrive. You can say, yeah, it was difficult, but when you try to grab the ball and you let it go in for a couple of times, you go out and you miss that big chance. Big keepers, they don't make these kind of mistakes. They can maybe 1 or 2 a season, and that's it. The other one, they are not forced mistakes. And De Gea has been doing a lot lately. So at the end, people start comparing him with the top player, with the top keepers, and then is when you realize Manchester United wants the best keepers in the world. Because he wants to fight for Premier League, wants to fight for Champions League, and then they put you in comparison with these kind of keepers, and then you are in trouble.
Oblak obviously has the #1 jersey in Atletico. He's been a standout keeper for a good couple of seasons now. He's also been linked with potentially move to either Chelsea or Manchester United for what I'm reading today. It could change tomorrow. £109 million, Mark. Should that deal be done by one of those clubs if finances are afforded for it?
You know, as Luis will tell you, every player in Spain, it's part of the regulations, has a buyout clause in their contracts. And Jan Oblak, I think last season, signed a new contract Atletico were desperate for him to sign a new contract to raise his buyout clause. Do I think he's worth it? Gosh. If that's what the market calls for and that's what a club's willing to pay for, then so be it. It's not the player's fault. What actually happens is, like I mentioned, about Kepa, is the pressure of going along with that name tag, to the price tag of then being the most expensive goalkeeper on the planet. I suppose the only way you're able to judge whether or not they're worth it is by their performances in the team. What have they added to your side? How many points a season do they help you win? How many trophies have you been able to win with that player in your side? And I think that is key. That's key to determine whether or not someone is worth it. Remember when Virgil van Dijk moved from Southampton to Liverpool, and it was £75 million. Everyone was like, wow, £75 million. Is that not over the top? Is that too much? I mean, now, clubs would probably willingly pay 120, 130 million pounds for Van Dijk. Not a question even asked about it. So it's all about how they perform once they are there, and whether a club is willing or not to spend that sort of money to bring them to the club.
In your opinion, as a former Chelsea player, as a former Chelsea goalkeeper, do you think Jan Oblak would improve the Chelsea side if they really want to push for honours next season? If they really want to push, say, City or Liverpool for the title?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah, there's no doubt to me whatsoever that, for Chelsea to really be a team that wants to compete at the highest level every year, for the next couple of years in particular, you need a top class goalkeeper. They had it in the past, whether it was Thibaut Courtois, whether it was Petr Cech. I mean, for over 10 years, he was outstanding. And, you have to have that. I mean, you look at the Champions League final in 2012 when Petr Cech played in that. He was unbelievable in the game. They ended up winning it on penalties. He made significant saves. Let's not forget, he made an unbelievable penalty save in the dying minutes of the game to allow it to go to penalties. You need goalkeepers to win your tournaments. Look, Liverpool went out and splashed the cash on Alisson. Why? Because they needed to fill a hole. Karius wasn't up to it, and Alisson's been one of the most influential players in that team, alongside Van Dijk and Henderson and so forth. Salah, Sane, but he was part of the jigsaw puzzle. Chelsea need that as well, as does Manchester United.
Well, Manchester United do, of course, have Henderson waiting in the wings. So should they go for Oblak? Should they challenge for his signature? Or should they allow Henderson to return back to his parent club and compete with De Gea, potentially, or maybe sell De Gea? I'm not entirely certain what the future holds.
Yeah, I mean, the problem I think Manchester United have got is that, De Gea's on an incredibly huge contract. And I don't see another club in the world paying that sort of money for his contract. I mean, whether or not they pay a transfer fee for him, but I don't see anyone taking over that contract. And basically purely down to the fact that his performances haven't warranted that pay packet. And I'm not criticizing him individually in terms of him earning that amount of money, because listen, good luck to him. That's brilliant what he's been able to accomplish. But Henderson, I think, has had an outstanding season, albeit at Sheffield United, and that's trying not to be disrespectful to Sheffield United. I think he's done a tremendous job there, and it's a huge step up to go over and become number one at Manchester United, albeit he has grown up there and he has come through the ranks, not played a single first-team game, but he knows what it's like to be a player of Manchester United. Just doesn't know what it's like to play in goal and be number one and feel that extra pressure. That's the big question mark. So if they're willing to splash the cash, I'd go out and buy Oblak. If not, I would go with Henderson.
Interesting. Lucha, what about yourself? What's your prediction for next season? Who's going to be in goal for Chelsea and who's going to be in goal for Manchester United? What does your gut say about this?
That's like grabbing a crystal ball and trying to find.
I would love your thoughts, your opinions.
I think it's very difficult. I think very difficult Oblak leaving Atletico de Madrid because Atletico wants to build up something very important, and they've been working very hard for the past few years to let probably one of the key players. I mean, they let last year and the year before 2 or 3 very important players with Griezmann and Lucas and Rodri in the middle, and they knew that with that money they will rebuild the team, and I don't see no one paying 190 million for a keeper at this stage. Not because I don't think that they are worth it, and because I think Oblak is definitely one of those special players who can make a big, massive difference from the back. But it's true that with the situation there is at the moment, I don't see any club in the world paying this kind of amount of money. And apart from that, after what I've seen and what I heard from the manager, like I said before, from Chelsea and from Man United, Kepa, it could be on the way out. I don't know who they're going to buy because it's very difficult. It's not easy to find a keeper who can hold this kind of pressure. We've been talking about the adaptation Premier League. There is totally different to different other competition, the amount of game that you have to play, and the pressure you're going to feel because Chelsea is spending a lot of money. So they are going to need that the players who arrive perform straight away. They cannot have even the adaptation time because they want to challenge Liverpool and City and United and Arsenal for next year. And for Manchester United, difficult because what Mark was saying. I mean, what kind of club is going to